Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Your Spiritual Journey. This is Dr. Bob, and we're so glad to have you with us today. And as I always mention, if you like us enough, please like us, or follow us, or subscribe, and maybe even contribute on Patreon. Today's guest is pretty special. Not that all of our guests aren't special, but today our guest is Tamar George, and she's been part of the spiritual community here in Pittsburgh for 40-some years as a psychic coach, an artist, an author, and a teacher. She facilitates Peaceburg. So that's peaceburg.com on Facebook and Peaceburg Drum Circle page. She spearheaded both the 1111 in 1992 and the 11-11-11 in 2011 when a group of light workers claimed Pittsburgh as Peaceburg. So there's already some questions that you might have in mind. Like, what's a psychic coach? What is Peaceburg? And what's the deal with these light workers? Well, those light workers claimed the city of Pittsburgh as the energy vortex that it is, with its three rivers and the fourth river where the fountain is, that amplifies a strong, powerful vortex all the way out to the airport. And I've got to tell you that my sister, who's an expert in vortexes, really told me all about what this is about, but we'll probably get into that a little bit too. So she's here today to talk about her journey with awakening and about how she proves past lives. Her story will describe how she came to write the books that she's written, and that she was given proof that she was not only writing about her lives, but that these lives were not someone else's. So you see one of her books displayed here, if you're watching on YouTube. My Life as Letty Lind, which is her most recent book. But I'm first, as you know, going to ask her to go back to childhood and give us the story of her spiritual journey to the present day, and then we'll get into some of these writings.
That's a long way to go.
Well,
So basically it was, the memory of I'm back, and not being very happy about that. And, of course, feeling different, like most workers do. They feel different, like, who is this family and why am I here?
so what age was it when you had that
Oh, good
expression,
grief.
that realization?
I don't remember not having it.
Ah,
Yeah, I remember walking down the street about maybe third grade going, these aren't my parents. I don't know who these people are.
did you ever tell them that?
No,
Oh,
no,
good.
I did not, no. And so about, I think it was more, I can't remember, but I was older then. And I tell this story, my first recollection of being psychic was my mom had somebody coming over and I explained who this person was to her. Why would you want to hang out with them? They're this and that and the other thing. And she goes, well, how do you know that? And I thought, how do you not know that? Yeah. And that was when I realized that I was different. I was hearing also at the same age about an internal dialogue that was happening, which I call my higher self. And it kept coming to a point where it was a lot of wisdom, but I said, you know what, you got to stop talking to me. So, because they are going to think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
So that was childhood. Fast forward into high school and being very cynical, but wanting to seek out more, wanting to know more. I just knew I knew. I didn't know how I knew. It's like the question in grade school to the priest, if God is all knowing, what are we doing here? And so, and it really is. So come later in life to find out that we are part of that source. We are part of that creator. We are gathering information. So we are the part of the not knowing. And that is why we're here.
So what led you to that conclusion?
Just information that was coming for me, teachers that I was talking to, gathering information from different sources.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now, realize, I'm 76 years old, so I've had a long journey here to discover a lot of things. And that's mostly what I will be talking about. So childhood seems like forever ago to me. Yeah. Yeah. So the path really started when I was probably 30 years old. And I went to the University of Pittsburgh, and I met my spiritual teacher, who calls himself Samuel. And I recognized the energy right away, and I started working with this trance channel, and I started developing my own intuition, my own knowing, and gathering information from and with whoever would resonate with what I wanted to know. I'm extremely curious. So unraveling one thing after the other, after the other, after the other.
Okay, I'd like you to explain for a minute trans channel, because trans has another connotation in this culture.
Yeah, there's a lot of trans channels out there right now, and that means is that they step aside while their higher self or a higher energy uses them. I'm a conscious channel. And what that means is I'm still here. Part of my brain is stepping aside to listen, but the majority of me is still here. My personality is still here. With trance channeling, their personality is gone.
Okay, so
it's
they go into a trance.
Yeah, it's a pure filter. And Seth was one of those channels. And out on the internet right now, there are various teachers that a lot of people are following. Now, why are they following them? Why are those energies giving us information? Because we're in a huge shift right now. We've gone from third density, which is a fear-oriented experiment, into fifth density, which is love. We know that as now being the Aquarian Age. So that Aquarian Age has been called the golden time, the time of peace, the time of unity, paradise on earth, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It is finally the end of the lessening and the beginning of everybody working in unity.
Now, some people would take issue with that just by saying, well, look around us. This is not paradise. This is chaos.
Right.
This is dissension. There's so much war. There's so much anger. There's so much hatred. So how do you reconcile those two? Well,
I reconcile them as the last of the lessons, basically. Yes. So we've lived all of these lifetimes. We've lived thousands, sometimes if I said millions of years, people wouldn't believe it. But we lived over and over and over again. And a lot of the lessons that are happening right now are group karma. It's like, yes, all right, let's finally resolve this. And doesn't mean it's always resolved in the highest, best way possible. In that, when we look at the last of the lessons, a lot of us have said we're old souls. We've been here many times. We feel it. This is our last lifetime.
Yeah.
Now, we also realize that we've gone through a lot of lessening this life. It seems like anything that was left undone, any drama, trauma, anything that still takes our power from us needed to be resolved is the best word, resolved with love. It doesn't mean that we ever have to know everything 100%. You know, you don't graduate Earth by being perfect. That's not going to happen. You graduate Earth by being on to it, on to the experiment. So by living love to the best of your ability, which is loving yourself, loving others, that's it. That's the ticket. That's your way out of here. So, and a lot of us, right, and especially humanity, is going through, I'm going to back that up for a minute. A lot of us, I've been awake like 40 years ago, working on my stuff, working on my issues, working on my lessons, doing all that. A lot of humanity is just starting to wake up to that.
Right.
Yes. Yes. So they are in the throes of acting out, not sure how to handle situations. Now, that's when I go back and I say, the light workers are here to lead the way, to explain through their own lives how they overcame that situation. So when I call myself a psychic coach, that's it. You know, I can intuit into somebody's life to know a probable in their life. I don't have an absolute future because nobody knows the future.
Right.
It's not possible. So, but if you keep going this way, down this path, this is probably going to happen. And so do you really want that to happen?
Yeah.
Or do you want to be on to the situation? Do you want the background of the situation? Meaning, why are you in this drama one more time, over and over and over again? Why are you doing that?
Yeah. So as a psychic coach, it's not that you're coaching other psychics. It's that you're like a life coach who has psychic abilities and can help people because you have those abilities.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I've had clients come to me and say, and seriously, I've been to this professional, that professional, and that professional, and that's great. That's absolutely great. I think everybody should go get all the help they need. But they say to me, in 1 hour, you told me what took me 5 years to understand.
Yeah.
And so I'm able to pinpoint that, but I understand it in my own life. You know, a psychic is only as good as the filter that you have, meaning the clearer it is, the more the information is able to get through in a clear filter.
Yeah.
All information comes to the psychic first and then out to the client. Oh, that's interesting. So it's heal or heal thyself first.
Yeah.
Listen to what you're saying to this client. Now, the other thing most psychics don't know is if I influence your pathway so much that you go off your path because I've said this is absolutely going to happen to you, I have karma with that.
Yeah.
I now take on your karma. So the last thing I will ever do is say absolute, blah, blah, blah. I always couch it in, again, the probability, this is what's likely to happen, kept on this path. Let's look at the path so that the decisions that you make are really for your highest good.
Now, are there times when, with that ability that you have, that you filter out some of the message that you could give them because you don't think they're ready to hear it, or that you're not sure about how they'll respond?
And this happens to most psychics, but we get a ping in our stomach, like, no, 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 don't go there.
Okay.
That's not, yeah. So again, remember this part of us here, the solar plexus, is another brain.
Yeah.
It's our intuitive brain. So that's where I very, very get the bing,
Yeah.
bells go off. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a student of Sue Morter, who wrote the Energy Codes, and she's very much about take it to the body. Like, listen to what your body's telling you, and that sounds like that's one of the places where the messages come from, loud and clear, is in your gut.
Right.
And we talk about a gut feeling, and
Right.
we don't think about, well, what does gut feeling mean? Well,
Right.
it's your intuition. It leads you.
Since we're on YouTube here, there's a really good way to visualize, for me, and to teach others how psychic abilities happen. When you're listening to your higher self, your guide, your helper, your angel, whatever you call them, I don't care what you call them, just call them for the highest good. Your highest good is your insurance policy. So your brain is always active. Now you can slow it down. But when you're asking for help, you're going to get help. You're going to get help. Even if you're driving your car, the information is going to come through. If you're in the shower and you go, oh, that's interesting. But it's working on that energetic level, is coming through your active brain. So it's a two-way thing. That's why it sounds like you. That's why it feels like you. But the difference is you don't think that way.
Yeah.
That's a higher way to think, And a lot of times, especially when I'm doing my past life regression work, I don't know where it's going. So it comes in, and it doesn't have a middle, and it doesn't have an ending. My brain has a middle and an ending. I know where I'm going right now with what I'm saying. But this just gives you a detail, a fact, and then you wait for the next detail and fact. So it's like you're taking dictation.
Yeah.
And I call it the cosmic internet. So you're taking dictation from the cosmic internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call them spirit guides that I work with. And part of that is knowing that as creators, we really don't create anything just ourselves, that we're sort of co-creators as we do create. And someone I had on the show before calls himself Richard the Creator, but he created a little box called the Dragonfly, which amplifies those messages for you. So, if you're asking a question, you can ask through the Dragonfly and receive those messages sometimes more amplified than you would if you asked the question and then, it may be a week later that you get the response.
Yeah, the tools work,
Yeah.
Different tools work. I like to tell people to ask a question and then just start automatic writing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
because here's what happens. You're automatic writing, your brain is going off, and all of a sudden these seed thoughts start coming in. But as you're writing, you don't really notice it.
Right.
It's like you're thinking it's part of your conscious stream. But when you go and put it away later, and you take it out maybe 10 days later and you underline it, the parts where, oh, that's not me. I don't think like that. That's not a sentence I would put together.
Yeah.
And you start to really see the difference.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
That you've got, the word I always like is divine inspiration.
Yeah.
Yes, is coming through to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, spirit doesn't tell time. That's what,
right.
it really doesn't.
Yeah.
And so when people say, well, Tamar, is it going to be a year? Is it going to be 6 months? Or, I don't know. It's just like at times it's a guess. Well, people said, well, this psychic told me it was going to happen in 3 months. And I said, well, did you create that? You manifested 3 months because you believed it? What did you do to involve yourself in that creation? Because you have free will.
Yeah.
Now, the closer the situation is, the energy is within 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, you can get a really good probability of what might happen because it's in that energy.
Yeah.
We say 3 days with everything. Yeah, so in that 3-day energy, it's like it's formulated. Its energy is taking place in there.
Yeah. So I want to get into your, I don't want to call it an obsession, your desire to explore reincarnation,
right,
and how that came about, because at some point in your journey you decided, okay, it's important to look at past lives,
right,
for whatever reason. And sometimes I wonder, because I've often had the opportunity to explore my past lives and to do past life regressions, and to this point I haven't bothered doing that. In fact, I feel like I've lived 4 lives just within this lifetime.
Yeah.
Because things have speeded up.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, just for the average listener, why bother? What good does this do anybody to look at their past lives?
So it's that two-way answer, the one that says, exactly, why bother? You don't have to.
Yeah.
You're an accumulation of all of your lessons, all of your wisdom right now in this lifetime. All you need to do is access you. Okay. Then there's the other side of the story, the Tamar George side of the story, which says, I came downloaded. I apparently, and I call it my greater spirit or my entity, some call it the oversoul. Apparently my entity and oversoul wanted me to find these past lives. So the information was just blatantly there. It was just there. And of course, when it's there in that kind of phenomena, because it was phenomena, I'm not going to get into the phenomena, because most people would, go, now, that's way too far-fetched. But it's
not for my audience.
Yeah.
It's all right.
But exactly, the phenomena happens when you're just waking up. Mm-hmm. That's when it really happens. One significant thing after the other, after the other. Once you're awake and you're just activated means you're living in service, you're loving yourself, you're loving others. That type of stuff, the phenomena tends to go away. But you're manifesting.
All right, so you're talking the theta state in between sleep and totally awake?
No, I'm talking about actual phenomena that is happening to you and waking you up, getting you stirred, getting you curious, getting you moving, getting you going.
Okay.
To then, once you're awake, then you are activating your own manifestation of miracles.
Uh-huh.
You're manifesting parking places. I like clothes shopping, manifesting clothes shopping. I like fooling around with the weather. I have just over the years just really elevated those manifestation miracles. Again, stories that most people wouldn't believe.
Okay.
So, but I just wanted to explain that phenomena happens in the beginning to wake you up. I saw this or this happened to me. You won't believe this. I believe everything.
Yeah.
Because whatever phenomena it takes you to wake up, fine. I don't care if a UFO is tapping you on the shoulder. Just wake up. Yeah. So, in all of that, where was I?
Well, the question was,
Go.
why bother with all
Oh,
this,
yeah.
this reincarnation stuff?
So, for me, the why bother is in the fact that we're so racist. We're so racist. We're so against one another. And yet, in past lives, we've been all of those races. We've been every one of them. And so, gracious people, stop deciding that your ego needs to feel better than because you're more than somebody else. You know, it's just ridiculous. And so through these stories of past lives, let's think about this. If this Tamar is actually proving that she lived before, maybe I'll give this more consideration. Maybe I'll really think about not being racist, not prejudiced. Because truly, that would change the world right there if we stopped being racist and judgmental against one another. Even the feminine and the masculine part of the roles that we play, the patriarchy over the matriarchy, all of that would change everything. And right now, the misuse of power is rampant on this planet. I need to have, I have to have, I need power over you. I need to actually, what's going on right now, brainwashing, mind control. It's totally getting out of hand.
Right.
It is out there big time, and we are seeing it in this election year to the point where I think our heads want to explode. But they all want power over us.
Right.
And I'll be blatant, and the corporations still want to run things. Hey,
Sure.
that's what they want.
Yeah.
So in that, taking this journey through past lives, especially my book, Reborn in Time, is, and I'll show you this, Reborn in Time is my memory of Atlantis. I came downloaded with Atlantis. It just poured out of me when I started writing the story about Atlantis. And I have had people call me from all over the world and said their daughter, their son, their brother, whatever, when they read my story on Atlantis, had told them the same memories. It's a different set of memories than what's normally out there. So in this time of glory, in this time of power, when we didn't know we could be corrupted or get corrupted, it was a golden age. And we're going back there. But this time we're going back there with the wisdom that we have accumulated from all of these ages of darkness. So from Atlantis, the Atlanteans had sister cities. And they moved out into different areas of the world. That's why they go, well, Atlantis was here. No, Atlantis was here. No, Atlantis was here. Yeah, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
Because they left. They went to Malta. They went to Egypt. They went to South America. The Atlanteans were teachers. They traveled. And they were able to teach basic manifestation techniques to the civilizations that they went to. Those civilizations started to have like places. Now, what does that mean? Like buildings, astronomy, astrology. They had science. They had their own form of religion, magic. And these different places started looking alike. That's ancient aliens. all of
right.
the old buildings that they're finding now, all of the pyramids. There were hundreds and hundreds of pyramids on this planet at one time. Now, ancient aliens always ask the same old question. Was it an ancient civilization? Was it this civilization? Yes, it was Atlantis. But Atlantis had its fingers into every place. That's one of the keys they really haven't put together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, one of the things that, well, there's just so many amazing things that you've written about. In addition to that idea of Atlantis being more than one place, which is a new concept to me, but it makes all the sense in the world. So I readily accept that. Is that Scotland is built on a quartz crystal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Scotland is motherland. It really is. The great continent of Tula is England and Scotland.
Yeah.
The city of Atlantis was as far down as the Canary Islands. And so when it broke apart, it did drift somewhat. And that's a whole other story. Right. But the Canary Islands, now remember, when I start getting into what did the Atlanteans look like, they were albino looking. They were translucent looking. Mm-hmm. And their eyes were crystal light blue, and their hair was like white. Has nothing to do with anything other than that's just the way they looked. And they were very, very tall. The native Canary Island people look that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, again, there's no one color way to look. There isn't anything better than anything else. It just happens to be, the form that the Halloween costume that we chose at the time and the way it looked. And we do choose a lot of different colors of Halloween costumes so that we don't all look the same. That would be hard, if there were 50 women that look like me. Well, sorry for them, and two,
Oh, come on.
It's just like, no, we need to be different. We need to have that uniqueness about us.
Yeah.
So then I then go into the Celtic lifetime, which definitely is Scottish, English, and how the teachings from Atlantis were hidden and revitalized in Celtic times, recreated what worked, and let's give it another play. Let's give it another dimension. Let's give it other scenery and costumes, so to speak. And then I go into the Egyptian, of course. We've all had lifetimes in Egypt, all of us. Yeah. And then I go into the Mayan. And basically, I'm tracing the misuse of power. The Mayan was the biggest misuse of power. It's like energy attracts like energy. So then, if the king wants to live, he needs to kill 50 people so that he can have their blood and live. It's like, what the hell? Really, it got all misconstrued.
Yeah.
Is it true like energy attracts like energy? Yes, it is. It is. That's how we create and manifest our life now. So it took me 10 years to write that book.
Yeah.
And did it change me? Yes. So there was my reason for remembering.
Yeah.
Is it changed me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm a student of Edgar Cayce.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of trance channels.
Yes, exactly.
And one of the things that he said was that a lot of the secrets of Atlantis are contained in a certain container by one of the pyramids in Egypt, that we're due to discover this sometime soon, actually. Although when you say soon, it could be in the next 100 years. But
Right, yeah. And absolutely. I have no idea what is out there as far as hidden secrets, hidden knowledge, all of that. But I do say we're here. And we do have the hidden knowledge, and we do have the hidden secrets, and it is within us. So our past lives are contained around the aura of our body. That's our history. So I was once asked about the Akashic Records. Well, okay, that's fine. But your Akashic Records are right around your auric field. And it's one of the ways that psychics can get into that energy of your past lives.
That's a new one on me.
Yeah, I know.
I gotta process that.
I know.
Just because I have measured my aura.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned this before on the show, but I've because I do Qigong every morning.
Nice.
I've measured my aura prior to doing my Qigong routine and then afterwards, and I know that it doubles in size. But I guess that wouldn't change those records, of course. If they're contained in that field, it's just
right.
They're a little more expansive, I guess.
Right.
So,
right. Do I know how many layers, how many fields there are around us? No, I do not know that. I just know that your past lives are there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how you can access them. And why, when you practice and you believe you're not making it up, then it's the practice makes it easier and easier. So I can touch in right now. In fact, I stopped doing my past lives because I'm everywhere at all times anymore. It just got to be overwhelming, and it's like, oh, okay, like enough is enough. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to talk about that, everything everywhere, because in the beginning of your latest book, My Life as Letty Lind, you have an illustration of the Oversoul, and then it looks like streams of multiple lives coming down, and that all of those lives are being lived at the same time. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. But it's frequency. So let's say, and I'm not a scientist by any means, but okay, I'm pretty sure scientists said colors have frequency. They have different levels of frequency. So when you're diving into Earth and you catch into that level of frequency, maybe that's Egypt. Maybe that's the beginning of Egypt. Maybe Egypt is all red, but you have all these various shades of red, rose and lighter red, blah, blah, blah. You catch that frequency and come into that time period. Mm-hmm. So that's how you get there. So the idea that time is all happening at once can't possibly be understood by our brain here. It's not possible. Out in the bigger universal picture of all of creation, that's where you can start to understand that concept, is that you're able, as creator energy, because Source created everything, and that energy is within us, backing up. The entity over soul has put like a stream of light into this being here called Tamar. But it's not all of that entity and oversoul's energy. It's just a string, a beam of light that is here. So in that, those beams of light and strings of light are also, because I'm multidimensional, in many different other beings out there in the many different universes that are all having experiences of growth and learning and creation. And we are, oh my gosh, we are living such amazing lives. So somebody will come to me and say, hey, Tamar, can you talk to my dead Uncle Harry, you know? And I said, well, if he wants to.
Yeah.
But he's got to come back to that projection he was on Earth as Uncle Harry and come in and put on that costume and say, hi, I'm here. How are you? Try to explain to people that, we are multidimensional. Now, I lost my husband 15 years ago. I love this story. It's why it's important to me. Spirit had kept trying to teach me, but I didn't get it until my husband taught me. Was he skeptical of me? Oh, yes, totally. He was totally skeptical of me. I kept giving him proof, though. And he kept saying, stop it, you're scaring me, stop it. But after he passed, I heard him as clear as day. I heard him say my name, and I said, hey, hi. And he said, I don't miss you. And I said, what? He said, no, I don't miss you. You're here. I'm in heaven. He said, yeah, you're in heaven. I go, you're right. My entity is there. I said, you're with my entity, aren't you? He said, here's the best part. Our kids are here. Oh, wow, it is heaven. We're all there. Oh, my gosh. He said, here's the even better part than that. And he said, our grandkids are here. I said, wow, you're like having a party. He goes, yeah, I'm just not there. Right, he's just not here. It really is heaven.
And you're not here either.
I'm here in this illusion, yes. Yeah. That string of light. But the multidimensional, gigantic entity oversoul of me is in what we call heaven.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I love it.
It is. We're this is just a temporary vacation. Something to do. Some place to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't last very long.
Okay, so how does God or Source or the Creator, the first Creator of all things, how does that fit into this scenario?
All that is all that is. All that is creation energy. Now, Creator said, what am I? Mm-hmm. It's back to, does God if God has all knowing, what are we doing here? And the nun said, you sit down and shut up.
Of course.
I came downloaded with this information that I never got a response for.
Yeah.
Yes. We do have the wisdom. And those kids being born right now, oh my gosh, they are awake. They're not activated yet, which means that they're still figuring it out, but they are so awake, they're so aware. They need to be occupied all the time or they get destructive. But their parents just are amazed at how much wisdom they have.
Yeah.
They're here for the higher frequency of energy.
Right.
And that's a whole other story. We're here raising our frequency to be in the higher frequency. Mm-hmm. They've come already in that higher frequency. Yeah. One more story to that. A lot of people are leaving to go and create another form with the higher frequency to be here. Last of the lessons, they're done. They're done. They have that lower frequency. They're getting the information they want. They're gone. They're coming back.
Yeah.
This is the most exciting time, since the drama of Atlantis sinking beneath the ocean waves. And that was horrific.
Yeah.
But this is exciting.
It is an exciting time to be alive.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's difficult to watch some of the things going on, but if you're able to watch from a distance and maintain that distance while it happens, it's exciting.
Exactly. If you can see the greater picture of why all this is happening, when you realize it is the last of the lessons, that people have signed up to play this game, that you don't have to be in it. In other words, you can remain above it. It doesn't mean you're not compassionate. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means that it's not going to devastate you. It's not going to throw you on the ground and you're never going to get back up. Life is, the whole cynical scenario of I just don't want to go through this. This is the end times. Yeah, it's the end times. Yay. With the new beginning right after that.
Yeah.
But the word that I like and have been using is divine neutrality. Whenever you're watching the news, send energy, send love to the situation. We don't know what the outcome should be. We don't know what's the highest and best. We don't know how that they're going to maneuver to create peace or resolve this conflict that's gone on for hundreds, thousands of years. This is the accumulation of all of that energy that has been in the making all this time. I'm just glad I'm not in it. I'm glad that I chose a lifetime where I could say, I'm working on myself. I'm sending energy to the planet. I'm working with others that really care about working on themselves, and that we are involved of manifesting deliberately every day. We do every day, a group of us sending positive energy of reinforcement of bubbles of light out into the world, holding the higher frequency,
Right.
holding the greater energy. Because mass consciousness is down here in chaos and drama and conflict and horrific things. And those light workers that can hold the higher energy are holding the balance.
Yeah.
So, don't be in it. Be above it. And hold that balance of love. And live love every single moment.
Yeah.
It's not that hard when you love yourself.
Now, okay, let's take a look at your latest book.
Okay.
My Life is Letty Lind. There's some fun stuff in there. And one of the things I was curious about is how this differed from Reborn in Time, because it seems like you were kind of cued into Letty Lind for quite a few years, and that there was probably some overlap between when you wrote Reborn in Time and your knowledge of Letty Lind, or at least your awareness of her. So why didn't that work its way into the first book, and why did it I guess require its own telling separately?
Oh, good question.
Because I know you wrote this in a few months.
Yeah.
It didn't take 10 years to write this one.
Letty didn't get into Reborn in Time because she was not a part of the corruption of history, like the Atlanteans, the Mayans, the Celts, the Egyptians, and So in that, she wasn't, this Reborn in Time is a history book. It truly is, on how we got here, why we're here, what we're doing back here. Letty was just one of those lifetimes that happened to be linear. Now, I don't know why I was still attached, knowing about her. I don't know what the overlay might have been. I don't have all those answers.
Yeah.
But she was always there. And early on, when I asked for her name, I got Letty Lind. And I got a trip over to London, England with my husband at the time. And I got to go into the birth records. And I stood there in London, and there are these big books that are all handwritten, and somebody, this person was born in 18 whatever. And I had an idea of when she was born. And I couldn't find her name because it wasn't her real name.
Yeah.
That was her stage name. So I got really frustrated and came back home, but I never gave up on her. And, I knew about this before the internet, and as it happened, maybe once a year I'd type in Letty's name, and one day up came her photograph. I go, oh, she exists.
She not only exists, but she looks like you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, there she is. And so just because I'm always curious who's out there on the internet, I kept typing in different things. And one day I came up with the biographer of Letty's in London, England. And I wrote him an email, and he wrote me back. And I said, oh, hi, how are you? His name was Graham. And I said, I was Letty Lind in a past life, and I gave him all this information and everything else. And he came back and he said, you're daft, D-A-F-T. And I wrote him back and said, what does that mean? And he goes, you're crazy. I said, well, will you keep talking to me? And he goes, yeah. He said, because you're the only one interested in this. He said, but I'm going to not tell you until I can give you the biography. It was actually a pamphlet for the theater in London. He would write about the old actresses and actors in London theater. And he said, I will give you the pamphlet, but I'm not telling you because you might write about it before I do. And I said, I promise I won't do that. Yeah. So I ended up in 2007 going over to Windsor and met Graham in the train station. And he gave me the pamphlet. And he said, come on, I want to take you to your grave. He said the grave. He didn't say your grave. I want to take you to the church that Letty was buried in, and I want to take you to your house. Because I asked him, I really only want to go to my house. Yeah. And because I remembered it. So we went to the church, and I sat in the back pew devouring the pamphlet, literally devouring the pamphlet. And when I read Letty's death certificate, it said she died of pneumonia. And I remembered that. And I just started to cry. Yeah. There it was. There was that proof. And then I continued on, and I read, here we were in the church that Letty's funeral was, and I read it took place on August 31st on a Friday. And I go, Graham, come here. I said, what day is today? And he goes, Friday, the 31st. And I said, August? He goes, yeah. I said, you wrote it right here. This was the day of my funeral, and we're back this next lifetime on the same day. And I said, dun, 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 dun. because he was still perceiving I was daft.
Yeah.
But after we went to see the house, which was now a factory, he said to me, all right, what don't I know? You read the whole pamphlet, what don't I know? And I said, well, what you don't know is that my husband this life was my father in that life, but he was my bastard father. He was Victoria's oldest son, King Edward. And he goes, I would never be able to prove that. It was known that he had bastard children, but I could never, ever prove that. That just wouldn't be out there anywhere. And I said, okay, all right. So Graham passed away, and
wait, I just
Go
want to
ahead,
interrupt
sure.
because then you went to the tombstone.
went to the tombstone.
Yeah.
And, you know, Graham said to me, you're not paying respect to Letty. And I said, all right, Bones, how you doing in there? I said, Graham, I'm right here. I am right here in front of you. He just shook his hands, and off we went. So at the end of the day, I was telling him what I knew that he didn't know. And what prompted me to write the book was the morning that I was with my boyfriend at the time, and I got the message. Spirit said, the father of your children, the absolute, you know, royal earl, his picture is online. And so I typed in his name, and up came the picture. And it looked exactly like my boyfriend. And I ran the computer in, and I said, look, this is you in the past life. I told you were in a past life with me. And he goes, again, like my husband, stop it. You're scaring me.
Yeah.
I got his permission, and the pictures are side by side in the book, and that prompted me to write it. But the one thing was missing before I could publish the book, and that was the absolute proof. How could I prove I was King Edward's daughter? Well, Graham had written that the person in charge of my will, Letty Lind's will, was Lord Esher. Lord Esher was a really big wig and the right-hand man, like the vice president, to King Edward. He was in charge of my will. I also knew him. I also hung out at his house. Why in the world would he be the executor of my will unless my father, King Edward, made him so?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the proof. And I ended the book.
Okay.
Not many people have proof like that. They don't have those years and years and years of research. They say, oh, I was this Indian chief, I was this, you know, whatever, you know, you name it, I'm this person, but they have nothing to back it up.
Right.
There's no backup. It's just that they touched into the energy. Now realize we're all one spirit. Mm-hmm. And if there's a familiarity with that particular energy, you can touch into it. Yeah. So, but having all of the background, the details, the everything to that, the persistence, the actual dedication and the work involved in it, then present your story.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. One of the problems with past life is somebody can touch into my lifetime as Letty Lind.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can. They won't have all the details. They won't have all the feelings, but they'll be convinced that they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that you talked about before, the fact that if you were in close association with a king or a prince or
Right.
a famous actor or actress, that because you identify with that name or that persona,
Right.
you think you were that person when really you were the makeup artist who
Yes.
who took care of them or
Yes.
something. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Big $1,000,000 question. Who was Graham that he would write this pamphlet on this actress?
Uh-huh.
He was a stagehand when I was out on stage.
Have you let him know that? Oh,
Oh,
well,
I
he's
did let him
passed
know
now.
that. I
Yeah.
did let him know that. I said, you were in charge of a lot of the theater that I did a play in, and we were friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because as much as he called me daft, he still wanted to be with me, and he still wanted to talk to me.
Yeah.
Something was there.
The past life information that I've seen that people have been able to prove usually comes from a child who
Right.
still remembers that past life and starts saying things about that person that there's no way they could know about it. And then their parents go back to take a look at that and find that, yes, indeed, that did happen to this
Right.
person who they say they used to be. So, but
Right. And then what happens to them after that is they get immersed in this reality and this life, and they're in, they're in the thickness of their own life, and they forget.
yeah,
So if you can grab them at like around 5 or 6 when their imagination is off the charts, because imagination is part of the ability to remember things. You have to trust that, you can create. You're creating the story. You're, like any writer writing a story, the story is being created.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I hate to wrap this up,
Sure.
but we have to.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, if you did check out a couple of these podcasts, you're aware that at this point in time, I'm going to ask you to leave the audience with a few words of wisdom.
Oh, nice.
And I know you have quite a few because they leak through your writings. So the mic is yours. And what would you like to leave people with?
I think not to get so caught up in despair or cynicism and look around to all of the good things that are actually happening. We have so much technology that is taking off right now and ways of making our lives better. And consciousness is, as this frequency arises into fifth density love, consciousness is also arising everywhere around the planet. So people are waking up. People come to me all the time and say, oh, Tamar, you have to read this book. Or Tamar, you have to, listen to this person. Or Tamar, have you heard about this? Or on and on and on. And I'm going, yay, yay, let's everybody keep waking up. But realize that you're here. Your only purpose, and I'm asked this all the time, what is my purpose, Tamar? To be happy. Because when you're happy, you're utilizing your gifts, talents, and abilities. You're utilizing the fact that you're here to serve others. And that doesn't mean others use you. It means that you joyfully, gleefully, happily are able to serve others. And positive outlook. Figure out how to use your creativity. Figure out how to put humor in your life. Figure out what works as balance in your life, no matter what it is. You need to be so busy with your own life that you're not worried really about what's going on out there.
Yeah.
And when you do worry about what's going on out there, send it positive energy.
Great words.
Thank you.
I love it. This has been just so marvelous to have you. And it's, I don't know, I've said this before, that this particular city and this particular area is just so rich with this kind of energy. And I feel so grateful to be able to tap into it.
Peaceburg is a portal. We are a lot of great light workers here. Absolutely. A lot of great minds, creative people here. Absolutely. You know, Sedona. We got to come, babe.
Yeah. No, it's funny, and I should be ending the show right now, but it just reminds me, I was in Sedona, and my wife and I were looking at one of their magazines, and when it was talking about places to live and spiritual places, it listed Pittsburgh above Sedona.
Yes. Peaceburg.
Yeah.
We're here, and we're sparkling with divine neutrality and higher frequencies of creativity.
So my website, yourspiritualjourneypodcast.com, will have information about how people can find out about Peaceburg. But if you want to mention a website right now, go ahead.
It's real easy. Tamar George, Tamar George, George.com.
All right.
I'm the only one out there with the name Tamar George, so you can't miss it.
Okay, audience, as usual, take from this what you will and put the rest on a shelf to pull down later when you're ready to deal with it. Until next time, this has been Your Spiritual Journey.